Another view asks, are you happy that you got out of public education before this Corona fund hit? Yeah, I mean, I'm just happy to have gotten out of public education in general. Public education is extremely toxic. It's extremely inefficient. It's extremely dangerous. It's extremely poisonous to one's mental health. And public education is basically for it's basically like for underachievers. And this is something, because I actually sort of uploaded like a rant on public education shortly after I quit my teaching job. And in that rant, I wasn't exactly completely speaking from facts. I was kind of speaking a lot from feelings, because I had a lot of strong feelings about that. And in that video, I said that, teachers on average are, public school teachers on average are like these great people, and they're really smart and really creative, and they work really hard. Empirically, though, as I've looked into this more, and as I've observed more things, as I've made more observations about public education, I'm not so sure that's true. I don't really think teachers on average are like these amazing, great, creative people. I think for a lot of people, teaching is like a plan B job. I couldn't do this, so I became a teacher. I think that I think because teachers are kind of in demand, the demand is high, the supply of labor isn't super high, so they'll hire people, even people who are unqualified for the job. A lot of teachers will just hand their student a packet and just put their feet up, or they'll scroll around on their social media feeds in their classroom. And then, lately these teachers are bitching and complaining, oh, I shouldn't have to go back to work and this and that. It's like, okay, so if the people at the grocery store, or the doctors, or what about the freaking like HVAC technicians who actually have to enter your house to service your air conditioner? If those people had that same attitude, I mean, society as we know it would come to a screeching halt. What makes teachers any different? I think when teachers are it's almost like teachers are shooting themselves in the foot. Like when teachers say, I shouldn't have to go back to work, they're basically just confessing how useless they are. And again, I know there's a lot of good ones too. I mean, I'm generalizing here. But if you say that, oh, well, I don't have to go back to work, but, the guy who works at the grocery store needs to stay at work, you're basically saying that his job is more essential than yours. And I don't agree with that at all. I think education is extremely essential for a foundation for a good future. But, public education, there's not a whole lot of actual, education going on within public, quote, education. But to answer your question, yeah, I am glad that I don't have to. I mean, because there are people who are in public education that are good, and they're smart and they're talented. I just don't think they represent the majority now, as I used to. But for those people, yeah, I sort of sympathize with them. Trying to do all this remote learning stuff. And, it's not easy, and it's not the same, especially if you're teaching science where, like, how do you do a virtual lab where you're like mixing chemicals, or you're, how do you virtually dissect a frog if you're in a biology class? It's like, at some point you actually have to, physically do the hands-on stuff. It's just simply not, it's not a viable replacement for the in-person face-to-face instruction. It's simply not. It's simply not. So I think these teachers need to, toughen up. And I think they need to, either go back to work or, seek employment elsewhere. There's nothing stopping you from changing fields. You could actually apply, in Florida, for instance, they actually have a program called Florida Virtual School, and there's teachers that work from home there. I mean, they've been doing it for a long time. So it's like, don't try to have your cake and eat it too. Like, if you don't want to go back to work, then you shouldn't expect to keep your job. You shouldn't expect to keep getting paid for not working, for not going to work. Everybody else does. The guy at the grocery store does. The guy at the retail store does. The guy at the restaurant does. The doctor does. All these blue collar guys, like the guys that service your air conditioner, or, plumbers or electricians, the people who have to enter your home. I mean, they're taking a risk. They're actually walking inside of your home, but they're not complaining about not going back to work. What the hell makes teachers any different? And I understand, schools are germy, kids are germy. I got sick a few times when I was teaching, but my immune system was great. Getting that acquired immunity of being in that environment was great. I hardly ever get sick anymore. So like my almost 2 years of teaching really was good. It was actually pretty good for my immune system, even though I got sick a couple of times. And as a teacher, a lot of teachers just want to go in even when they're sick, because it's such a hassle to make a lesson plan for a substitute, only to find out that the substitute teacher didn't actually follow the substitute lesson plan, it's just so frustrating. So a lot of teachers will just come to school sick, even if they are contagious, which is bad. I know that's bad, but they need to fix the system. They need to make it easier to get a substitute in there. But yeah, I kind of went off on a tangent there. But yeah, I am glad that I'm not in public education. I'm much happier for it. Yeah, especially now all this corona bullshit. It's challenging. Very, very tough. Very tough. Good question though. Very good question.